to be here with us and just blessing us in your presence. Tell me a bit about Sean. I want to know who's Sean and where did your whole story start, Sean?
So first of all, thanks so much for having me. My Afrikaans is baie lekker, so
Lekker.
yeah. But to bless everyone, I'll just stick to English. So where my journey began, I don't have like an insane testimony per se, but I grew up in a Christian household. Had the story Bible books, learned about Jesus on that, but I don't think I ever made the decision to commit until I was around 18. I was at a party one night and I was obviously very drunk, and this guy came out of nowhere and he just started beating me up, and I didn't know what to do in the moment, so I just ran. And then when I got to like a safe space, I obviously started crying. I don't know if I was drunk. I started crying, but at that moment, I felt God say to me, turn around and look at the party. And I turned around. I realized, okay, I'm safe now. And when I turned around and looked at the party, I completely sobered up in that second. And I said to God, like, okay, what do you want me to see? And, I saw the typical things like, drunk people everywhere, people fighting, doing some bad things and stuff. And as I just looked at the crowd, I felt God say to me, this is not the type of life I have for you. So at that moment, called my mom, my Uber. I got home. And then next day I decided, like, what happened to me was real. I need to discover who this God is that reached out to me. So drove to a pastor in Paul, got speaking with him. He just told me about the gospel, how to get saved, received Christ instantly. And then the next day, it felt like I was in this bubble. Like I could feel something about me was different, and like all those desires went away. And I said to God, you said you had a other type of life for me, so what is that? And like as I started praying, like I started tearing up because I just felt this passion, like things were about to change. And I played some Bible roulette, so I just opened my Bible in a random spot and said, God, I don't know how to hear from you, so speak to me. And I opened on Matthew 4:19, which says, and he said to them, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. And yeah, that's where my journey began.
So that's so you said now that you were at this party, you're 18 years old. I mean, you've got different goals when you're at that age and you're busy with the sport and everything. And it comes to show that it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you are going through at that moment. God can still reach you. God can still touch your life, change your life. And it was so beautiful. Can you elaborate more on it? Now you are at this stage where this whole change happened for you. You went to the pastor, he shared with you the gospel. Now you're sitting there. I think a few of us has gotten to that point where we sit and you open the Bible and you're like, this is new to me. Where must I start? Where must I read? What must I do? What was going through your mind at that stage, and how were you feeling? And to add a third question on top of the other two questions, what helped you in that stage to, how can I say, to ease your mind?
So I knew, obviously, God's called me to something. So the main question I had for myself was like, what is it? And then after I read that verse, I was like, you want to make me fishers of men? Like, what does that even mean? Like I got to go out and catch people and stuff, But then the main thing that made me realize, like something's different. Like I just stopped fitting in with my friend group at the time, they would say, hey, we're going to a party tonight. And instantly in my spirit, I'd just be like, it's not me anymore, And like, I try to go back in those times. Like I would find myself at a party, it hits 11 o'clock and I'm like, this isn't me. Like I could literally feel God saying like, what are you doing here? I told you this isn't for you, kind of thing. So in that moment, I just, you mentioned a verse in the beginning about Jesus leaving to the 99 to fetch the one. And he recently gave me a revelation on that. It's like when he went to fetch the one, he obviously brought it closer to himself, but he also took it back to the community. So the 99. So my first instinct was, where can I learn more about God? Obviously at church. And then from there, I just started seeking a good church.
And as you said, now you brought the sheep back to the community, and community is important. We spoke previously on previous interviews as well, where we said, it's important to surround yourself with a community that can either pick you up when you feel down, or that can help you and guide you and lead you where you feel that you don't have that guidance. And always you have God that is the lamp for our feet, that can guide us wherever we go. Sean, it's so nice to hear that you talk about this whole almost like a new identity, and that's exactly what happens when we meet Christ. We get that new identity, and if you look back now to a few years ago when you were 18 years old, what was one of the things that you would say shined the most for you? What is something that you are the most grateful for if you look at back at your past life?
So I would say at the time I was in a really bad relationship as well, like doing all the wrong things. And when I felt like I got saved, like at the party, and then I went to the pastor and stuff, I took a break from people because I felt like I was in this aura of like, I need to figure out what's going on right now. So after about a week, I went to my girlfriend at the time, and now they lived in a complex, so she opened the gate for me, came running out, and she like stopped as she saw me, and she's like, there's something different about you. It's like you're holy now. And I was like, we didn't even say hello yet, but she could instantly see the change in me. And then that was really like a highlight for me. Like, I'm really not that person anymore. Like how the Bible speaks, you become a new creation as soon as you receive Christ. Like that was the moment where I realized like, I'm not that person anymore. Like I've gone from darkness to light. Like I'm completely different now.
Sean, thank you for that. We're going to take a short, I almost said a kort musiek break. The Afrikaans is coming through. I can feel I'm fighting against the Afrikaans, but we're going to listen to Dance Voor Jou Deur from Joshua Nadi Rien. And directly after that, we're going to jump back into the mission work that Sean is doing at the moment with the church and the group that he's with. So stay tuned. We are right back after this short music. Dankie dat jy ingeskakel is saam met ons by Set for Christ. Ons is besig om met Sean Lotz te gesels. Amper vergeet ek weer van my Engels. We are back with the English. We're talking to Sean Lotz. He just gave a bit about his story and how his life changed after meeting Christ and his identity that changed. We also want to invite you to chat with us on our WhatsApp line. Our WhatsApp line is open on 081 729 1657. You can also SMS us on 37988. You are more than welcome to join our Facebook Live on 729 AMK Pulpit. Leave us a comment, chat with us, ask a question if you'd like. Sean, I want to also discuss a bit the whole theme for tonight, leaving the 99 to find the one. What role does that play in your life?
What role does that play in my life? I feel like it ties in perfectly with missions. I'm going to give you a scripture, if you can just pull it up there for us. 1 Timothy 2, 3 and 4.
Yes, so 1 Timothy 2 verse 3 and 4 says, "This is good and it is pleasing in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth."
Exactly. So God's will is for everyone to come to the knowledge of the truth and be saved. So to go out there and find that one, it's a statement on its own. It's a lifestyle on its own. Like,
Sure.
we are called to go out there into the field and find that one.
Sure. Sean, thank you for that. Then I want to hit on a bit of a few deeper questions. And Sean, one of those questions I want to ask you, if you look at advice, what advice can you give someone that is listening tonight that feels hurt or maybe lost? How to rediscover God in those times. A lot of times we go through these moments where we feel lost, we feel no one accepts us, we feel hurt maybe, something happened. You said in your testimony as well, you came to this point where we were hurt and you were lost and you rediscovered God. You understand who God is. You found your identity. So what advice can you give to that person that's listening tonight that says, I'm lost, I need help, I want to rediscover God?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the first piece of advice I can give is filter everything through God is good. You know, Hollywood will teach you that as soon as something goes wrong, like the actor will look at the sky and be like, why God, why? So we get this impression that if something's bad, it's always God. But the truth is he's always good. And speaking about community, I know there's a lot of people out there that are hurt by their local church or somewhere that they served or just friends that they had in general that are believers. And that is also like a second testimony for me. I was part of a church, served there for like 5 years. I did a Bible study one night with a friend and we totally misunderstood what the scriptures meant completely. But it actually caused me to go into like a depression. Like I felt I wasn't worthy of God anymore, and you know, what I read basically condemned me. So I went into like the spiral of believing I'm just alive to go to hell, like he's abandoned me. And it got to a point where like my health started to deteriorate. Like people could see this guy's really unhappy, like things are starting to go wrong for him. And I suffered with that for about like 3 years, but in the second year, like the church actually pulled me aside and they're like, yo, we can see you're super depressed, like we actually want you to leave.
Sure.
And at that moment I was like, okay, maybe this is fruit of God abandoning me. So I thought like this is just, you know, how it is. And in that time, the depression obviously got worse. I started crying myself to sleep almost every night. I really thought like there's no way back to God, you know. And I almost felt angry when I saw other believers because I was like, oh, they're thriving, and you know, like, yeah, God threw me in the bucket, you know, like I can't get back to him. And after about a year again, so this is the third year now, I went to a doctor and they said, we're going to put you on depression pills and stuff. And it got so bad that he actually said to my mom, we should maybe look at putting him in a mental institute just in case he doesn't hurt himself. So driving back from the doctor, I've got all these pills. He gave me like this case of pills. And I stood in my room and I said, you know, God, I do believe that you're good. I haven't heard from you in a very long time, so I thought, but this surely isn't the life you have for me. Like, you don't want me to take these pills for the rest of my life. I'm just going to put like my last bit of faith in you. So I said, I need a sign from you. I need something. Like, if you don't reach out to me soon, I'm going to give up.
Sure.
Maybe not to the case of, I was thinking suicidal, but I thought I'll never turn to you again. And funny enough, like 2 days later, my sister had a braai and this guy came there. And I looked at him, I was like, man, this guy's evidently a believer. Like, I'm so upset that he's here right now. He looks so happy and everything. And that actually turned out to be my greatest blessing. He's a pastor. His name's Etienne Willemse. He's the pastor of Grace Life Tigerberg, and he walked a solid journey with me for like a year or two. He invited me to life group after a year of meeting with me one-on-one. He just basically discipled me through what I went through, went in the Word with me to show me that what I thought is not real. Like the thing that I was dealing with, I just misunderstood it. And I got to a point where I realized this isn't even a problem for me anymore. And then once I went to life group, I started to experience that community. And only then, like I said to God, if this guy invites me to church at any stage, like I feel like it's a trap, I'm not going to go. After a year of being in his life group, he said to me, you look better now. You look like things are good. Would you like to come to church? And I was like, man, you've been so faithful with me. Like you've really, like on the theme of your verse, you've really been that person for me that walked out into the field. You fetched the one. It took a while to bring him back. But I was like, you've been so faithful in that I want to do that.
And how important is that to actually step out and be willing to be a vessel for God, be willing to take that step of faith and reach out to someone that you can see struggling. Sean, I relate so much with what you said. Lately, I also had a few things that was been going on. Mentally you struggle. I think we underestimate how strong our brain is. How our brain can tell us, listen here, you are not that person, you are this person. You are not as good as you think. You are not as good as someone tells you. You've got depression, you've got anxiety, you have all these things. You're talking about driving home with all these pills that you have to take that the doctor prescribes you, and in your mind you go through this round and round a race where you're trying to figure out what's going on and how God steps into that. And as you said, God's timing is completely perfect. I mean, now your testimony is in answer to my prayers tonight, that I've been going through lately a bit of a challenging time, to say like that, and that's where God comes through and he tells you, listen, yeah, Sean, listen, Ruan, you are not depression, you are not anxiety, you are not this, you are not that. Yes, the world is a dark and scary place. It can be difficult at times, but you are a son of mine. Yeah. You are a co-worker of mine. You are my child. I called you by your name, not by your sins. And that is so important when we go through these times, to rely back on that and say, I'm a child of God. I'm not whatever the world tells me I'm not whatever medication I have to take or whatever someone else puts on my life. I'm a child of God. I want to go back and I want to ask you, when you go through those challenging times, it sometimes becomes so difficult to keep your focus on God. I mean, we go through all these things, we've got doctor's appointments, we've got all these things, and we struggle to keep our focus on God. What advice do you have for someone tonight to help them keep their focus on God in these challenging times?
I would say read up on what the Word has to say about you. You know, like so many times we growing up, even like maybe your parents are like the biggest influence in your life, or friends or something like that. Yeah. You're going to get to a stage where they're going to let you down. And sometimes you can let that become a part of your identity. You know, whether you have like a big dream and someone tells you can't do it, or they just make you feel low about yourself. Sure. My best advice would be go to the Word, see what it has to say about you. Write your favorite scriptures on a piece of paper and recite it to yourself every morning, to the point where you really start to believe it. And then also realize that He's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. And the Word also talks about laboring into rest. So sometimes in that stage, it's difficult to go to God and be like, I'm really struggling. Like we look for alternatives in the world and things like that. But in those times, it's really important to lean on God and just say, who do you say I am? Yeah.
Sure. That question of who do you say I am? And there's that song also that goes to that says, who the Son sets free is free indeed. Who do you say I am? I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. And it's so important. Do we identify as children of God? Do we put our trust in God? But also do we put our rest and our peace in God? He is the Prince of Peace. He gives us peace. He gives us life as well. Do we identify as His child and put everything we have in His hands? Our trust, our future, our hopes, our marriage, our children, our school, everything. What do you put in the hands of God? Are you limiting a limitless God? Or are you giving Him everything that you have? Are you fully surrendering every single situation of your life to God? And you say, I am a child of God. That is who I am. Nothing else but a child of God. Sean, I want to thank you for that. We're going to take a short break now. We're going to listen to Chris Tomlin with the song God of the City, that is so linked to what we are talking about right now. He is the God of the city, and He is in control. Just after the break, we'll be back. We're going to talk a bit about mission work and a bit about Sean's mission coming up now in the month of July and August. We are so excited and we cannot wait. Stay tuned just after this break. K Pulpit 7 to 9 a.m. We are talking with Sean Lotz. We just had such an amazing discussion about feeling lost, getting hurt. How do we rediscover the focus of God? How do we focus on God in difficult times? I want to encourage you to reach out to us if you have ever felt like that before in your life. Have you ever felt like you are maybe lost or hurt? Do you want prayer? We can pray for you. We can serve you. This is what it's all about. You can send us a WhatsApp on 081 729 1657 or SMS on 37988. To our regular listeners, ek het nog nie my Afrikaans verloor nie. Ons hou nog by die Engels en ons kap maar nog aan verder daarvan af. Sean, I want to ask you, you're a lot in mission work. I mean, you guys are going on a mission now soon. You said in July you guys are going to Albania and also to Belgium. I mean, that is exciting times. I want to tell us a bit about your missions in the past. Is there any exciting missions that you've been on? Anything that you can share with us?
Well, so far, mission trip rise, I've been to Zimbabwe and I've been to Albania twice. We're going for a third time, but Albania is like a really unreached part of Eastern Europe. You know, like they were one of the first declared atheist states. The majority is Muslim.
Sure.
You know, so going in there, one of the scariest things I realized, like we would walk around the city called Durrës. the whole day and you don't meet a single Christian, or you don't meet anyone that knows about Jesus, even like you get like Greek Orthodox and stuff like that, but the people aren't practicing. Like spiritually, it's like dead. And it's funny, like I got so frustrated the one day. I was like, I'm just gonna go up to anybody and I'm gonna ask them, do you know Jesus? And I saw this guy sitting in a coffee shop, so I went up to him. I was like, do you know who Jesus is? And he's like, it's that soccer player for Arsenal, right? The striker. And I was like, man, that's mad.
Sure. Sorry for laughing at that, but I can just imagine what goes through your mind at that stage where you go up to this guy and you ask him, and he says it's a soccer player. What goes through your mind at that moment?
Well, I giggled a little bit, but then as I walked away and I thought about it later that night, I was like, that's really sad, actually. Like, we are so blessed here in South Africa. Like, I feel like the missionaries that came here in the past and stuff, they really did a great job, because you can go up to almost anyone and ask them about Jesus and they'll have an idea of who he is. Then you get into certain parts of Europe and it's just cold. Like they really don't know anything. And, the harvest is ready, but the workers are few. So it is a good thing to reach out here in South Africa as well. But we really feel in our heart as a ministry that we need to reach into Eastern Europe. Yeah. And we felt specifically on our hearts that Albania is going to be a springboard into the rest of it. So that's why we're going there so often. I think we have a trip there every year where we go to different cities and just try and plant more seed, get things going, get discipleship groups going. So far it's been very successful. So this time we're going into a town called Skodra, and we're going to be doing some work there.
Okay, fantastic. And then tell me, Sean, what are you most excited about this mission trip for?
The last time I was there was 2 years ago, and I had an opportunity with some of my missionary teammates. We met up with this person and we were discussing Jesus and salvation and things, but it just wasn't getting through to them. And it's weird, like God told me at the time, the person is more visual than they are audible. So show them something practical. So I had this weird idea of getting like Coke together and water and whatever. And I explained to them, like I poured a big bottle of water into a small glass of Coke, and then eventually it's just filled with water. So I thought, like, this is what happens when you get saved. Like, you become pure. The Holy Spirit is going to fill you, and then, you're saved. Sure. And this person looked at me and they burst out crying, and they're like, I need that. I need what you're sharing with me right now. I've never heard anything like that. And then we prayed with them, and when she opened her eyes, like after the prayer, you can really see that darkness to light thing, but you can see it like in their eyes. And that made me hungry for missions, like to really go out there in the field and fetch the lost, fetch that one. At one stage I was that one, and I thank God that someone came after me. Sure,
Sean, that is, as you said, you were that last one at a stage, and now you're working towards that. And as you give them this example of the Coke cool drink and the water going together where it's all filtered to water, that's what God does in our lives. And you're 100% when you say that. Now I want to ask you, what is something that someone is listening tonight should know about the hard work in mission trips before they get involved or they go into mission trip? Or what is something they need to know about the hard work that goes into that?
Hard work wise, like I know people here like, oh, he's going to Europe, he's going to Belgium, he's going to Albania. That sounds fantastic. But it's not a holiday at all. Like your mindset for being out there is completely different. I feel like from when you land, like the enemy knows that you're there to take ground, and like things come against you, you start to feel tired, the climate's different, things like that. So it's very important to be spirit led. Like you need to stir yourself up. Our typical routine would be like we wake up super early in the morning, we gather together, we pray, we worship, we listen to like a quick sermon, and then from there we hit the streets until like 8 at night, and then we do a report back, and then from there, if there is time, spend like another 2 hours out there, and then we just repeat for the next couple of days. It's a lot of hard work. It's physical work as well, and like you need to develop some form of fitness to do it as well. But yeah, it's not a holiday, I would say. It's not a holiday.
And tell me, Sean, when you go on these mission trips, which is a lot of hard work, how do you prepare yourself for these mission trips?
So I prepare myself. In the intro, you mentioned finding a person of peace, and I'm sure some people are like, "What the heck is a person of peace?" And a person of peace is something we've identified as a church as someone that's like well known in the community, or that people like to be around. And if you find it possible to touch that person, their first reaction is like, I got to share this with people, or I need to introduce you to my friend. Like, they need to hear what you said. And then from there, they offer you like so much root or influence into their life to the point where it starts to reach others tremendously. Like, you invite that one guy and all his friends look to him like, oh, okay, cool. He's like kind of like the leader of the group. So we're going with him to church tonight. Next thing you know, you have an opportunity to minister to multiple people.
And as you say, the person of peace, you find that person with most influence, and that causes that whole, it paves out that way for you guys to influence other people with Christ. And I call that the person of peace.
Yeah.
That is so interesting for me, Sean. Now I want to ask you, Sean, these mission trips, I'm sure they're a bit expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
what is these mission trips? This one that you guys are going on, what does this cost you usually to go on these mission trips?
So it is a lot of money. Obviously, you're going to be in Europe. We're going for 3 weeks. You need to survive. You need to eat. You need to pay accommodation, things like that. For a trip, you're generally looking around like between 40 and 50,000. And, currency-wise, it's a lot. Like when you think of it, you're like, man, that's a lot of money. But when it's at people's eternities at cost, it's actually really nothing. So I try to look at it from that perspective. Like, obviously, it's something that we need to live and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's sometimes difficult to fund, but it's always worth it in the end.
Sure. Sean, I want to know, how can people get involved into mission trips? How can someone that's sitting here tonight that says, you know what, I want to go into a mission trip. I want to serve people. I want to serve the unreached. How can someone get involved in doing mission work and so forth? What would be a tip for someone like that?
So we have awesome, trainings or platforms or courses and stuff that you can do. If you go on our website, gracelife.co, then you'll see there's a section there called Boot Camp, where you can actually really get trained to either do international missions or to do local ones. It's very in-depth, very good. And then also for the doctrine side of things, we have a course called School of the Believer, which is also very good. So doing those 2 courses alone would really equip you for missions. But I would say, like, if you just feel it on your heart, step out, like, go to your local church, speak to them, find out if they have a mission team. Sure. If you feel inspired to go out there and reach people, if you're not quite ready to go internationally, try practice in your friend groups. Like, I'm sure we all have that one friend out there that we really want to be saved, and maybe we're too scared to reach out to them because it could cost the friendship. But I mean, it's kind of a selfish way to look at it because you're costing them their eternity potentially. So I would say if you know someone like that, reach out to them as soon as you can.
We go back to what you said earlier on that person that reached out to you and how that changed your life. And I also have that person that reached out to me, helped me in that difficult time to then actually change my life, have my life set and linked towards Christ. And it was just that helping friend, that person that you need in those difficult moments. Sean, I want to thank you. As you said, if you want to read a bit more about ministries or serving in mission trips, I mean, you said you're part of Grace Ambassadors, which is Grace Life Ministries. As you said, tell a bit, where can people see more about Grace Life Ministries? Where can people see more about Sean Lotz and the mission trips and what you guys do on your mission trips?
So you can definitely see more about us on our website, so gracelife.co. I think there is a section there for Grace Ambassadors and stuff, and the trips and pictures and stuff like that. But we're also very interactive in WhatsApp groups. So we have a massive group where it's our missions group where people can be in there, support us with prayer, or if they've sewed in and they want to find out, where did my money go? I really want to check what's going on. We update in that group constantly whenever we can. So if you want to be added to that group just to see what's going on, you can always reach out to the church on the website and then sign
You
up.
said that's www.gracelife.co.za, is that correct?
Correct.
Fantastic. So yes, you can serve in multiple ways. You can serve by praying for those going on mission trips. You can join going on mission trips. You can help by sowing into that mission trip. This is all about reaching the unreached. We're going to take a short break. We're going to listen to We Are His. That's from Charles and David. As soon as that is done, we're going to greet you. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end. Even though we want to stay a bit longer, our time has come to an end. We're going to take a short break, and right after this break, we are back to say goodbye and finish off our discussion. Thank you for tuning in to Radio Cape Pulpit on Set for Christ. We are finishing our discussion with Sean Lotz. Sean just spoke about his mission trip that they are going on, serving the unreached, reaching them, spreading the gospel. Sean, I want to ask you for last input. Where can people reach out to you? Where can they? You already said they can go onto the website to see more about Grace Life Ministries, to see more about your mission trips. But where can people reach you when they want to say, I want to sow into this ministry. I want to be a part of this ministry. I want to be part of the mission trip. I want to pray for you guys while you're gone. Or maybe I want to serve locally. Where can people reach out to you for more information, prayer, anything like that? Where can they reach out to you on that?
So if you want to reach out to me, my email address is just my name and surname, so Sean Lotz 180@gmail.com. And then also if you would love to be added to the WhatsApp group just to see what's going on while we're out there, my number is 060-823-1729. Do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, you can repeat it again.
So it's 060-823-1729.
Fantastic. Sean, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for coming out here. I want to thank you for sharing that message, touching on some on some deep topics, and also talk about missionary. I think a lot of people go into mission or they want to go into mission work and they don't know how to do it. They don't know what is involved. They think, it's a holiday. And a lot of times there's so much hard work at that as well. There's so much involved in it as well. So I want to thank you for just enlightening us on that a bit. And I want to encourage you, you had his number now that he said, please reach out. If you want to be part of the team that prays for them, if you want to be part of the team that intercedes or help them on the missions or so into the missions, reach out to him. You said your email address was Sean Lotz. 180 at gmail.com. And then Sean, I want to thank you very much once again. Dit het nou by tyd gekom waar ons moet sê tot ziens, waar die einde van ons program is. Ons is terug op Afrikaans weer. My Engels het nogals mooi uitgehou. Ek gaan nie jok nie. Ons wil sê dankie dat jy saam met my, Ruan Swart en Sean Lotz gekuier het op Set for Christ. Dis ons hart om jou die jeug in Suid-Afrika te bemagtig, maar ook vir jou as ouer of opvoeder en waar ons deur dialoog en die uitdruk van gedagtes mekaar kan help om die beste pad te stap, soos wat God dit vir ons beplan het. As jy wil kontak maak, stuur gerus 'n e-pos na gospel@capepulpit.co.za. Besoek ons webwerf www.capepulpit.co.za. Jy kan ook ons sosiale media platforms besoek, 729 AM Cape Pulpit